Hello world, welcome to Clear the Air, episode 11. I hope you all, that wasn't English, I hope you all are having an amazing week. Today I wanted to come on and talk to you about a topic that merges a few aspects of sustainability, environment, and personal sustainability, as in your personal well-being. And I wanted to do that by sharing a story about myself, a very personal story. If you're very close to me, you know this story, but I haven't really discussed it with a larger audience yet. But again, if you know me, you know that this was a big part of my life, and it has largely shaped who I am today and how strong I am today and how willing I am to take opportunities and live in the moment. This is the second time that I've had to film this because the first time I did it, it was way too long and I just went off on a tangent. While I think what I was saying is really important, the focus I was taking is not the focus of this podcast. This podcast is about sustainability, finding ways to help the environment, take action against climate change in your own life, and follow your passions as a youth. Learning what you love, what makes you happy, and following that to make a difference in the world. So I am going to make this shorter and I am going to make that point very clear. That said, if you would like to hear more about my story, or you would like a separate podcast about my story specifically, or a blog post, or whatever it may be, you can just send me a message on Instagram or email me, and feel free to reach out to me there. And I'm also happy to talk to anybody who might have gone through a similar issue or a similar story. Before we get started, just a reminder to rate and review the podcast on iTunes if you haven't yet. That is the key way that I can reach a larger audience, reach more youth, not just across Canada, but across the world, because the more ratings and reviews there are, the easier it is to find the podcast. Also, feel free to comment and share with anyone in your circle. The more people that hear about it, again, the more people that can be contributing to a more sustainable world. All right, so let's get into the content. As you can tell by the title, this podcast is about how sustainability and finding my passion for the environment got me out of my eating disorder. A short backstory, because I went into this way too much in the first recording. I developed an eating disorder around when I was 14 years old. Before then, I had some disordered thoughts, but I didn't really act on it. And my eating disorder followed me throughout high school. I got very sick. If you knew me before my eating disorder, you would definitely tell that something was wrong. But if you didn't see me before then, you might not, because one thing about eating disorders that I just like to make a point about is that it's not just a physical thing. It's much more a mental illness than anything. Someone may have an eating disorder without you knowing it. They don't have the quote-unquote stereotypical eating disorder body. I had a lot of health complications associated with my eating disorder, and I barely even remember high school for the years that I was really struggling, which was grade 9 and grade 10, because I was just in this fog. My eating disorder controlled me. It consumed me. It took away my passions. I wasn't eager to do anything. I wasn't eager to draw or paint like I used to. I didn't want to hang out with friends. I didn't want to go to social gatherings. I was so afraid of other people preparing food for me or going to these gatherings where I knew there would be food, because I couldn't control what I was eating. I was so focused on the control of it, of thinking that I had control over my life, when really my eating disorder had control over my life, and it took everything from me. When I was beginning to look for university programs that I wanted to go into, that was at the end of grade 10, and I thought I wanted to be a dietitian because I love food so much, when ironically I was so afraid of food. I thought being a dietitian, already being so interested in nutrition, I'm actually looking at my Nutrition for Dummies books right now and all these other nutrition textbooks that I had bought because I was so passionate about nutrition and learning about food and preparing food that I thought being a dietitian, helping other people eat well, just constantly studying food was the career I wanted to take. And so I was dead set for about 2 years that I wanted to be a dietitian. Then flash forward to grade 11/grade 12, I started to recover from my eating disorder. While I was in the depths of it from grade 9 to grade 10, I didn't acknowledge that I had an eating disorder. And that's another thing about eating disorders, is that when you were in it, you sometimes, or more often than not, don't know you're in it until you're out of it almost completely out of it, if not fully out of it, because even as you're recovering and you think you're better, you might not be entirely better. And it's not until years down the road when you're so much healthier and happier that you realize that you were probably stuck in it a lot longer than you thought. But anyways, as I started recovering in grade 11, because I had a really intense health scare that kind of knocked some sense into me, I realized that maybe nutrition wasn't the field I needed to take in university. Maybe it wasn't truly me, Jenna Phillips, that was wanting to be a dietitian. Maybe it was my eating disorder trying to maintain control over me. And my parents were also saying, is this something that you really want to do? Or is this something that your eating disorder is telling you to do? And I want to make a point. My parents were always very supportive of me in high school. They didn't expect me to go into any certain program. They said, if you don't want to go to university, you don't have to. If you're in your first year of university and you don't like it and you want to switch or drop out, that's okay too. And so I really appreciate how supportive they were and how much freedom they gave me to decide my future. And so it did come down to me and the decisions that I wanted to make that would make me happy. And at the time, I thought being a dietitian would. But as I was recovering more and I was reaching out, reading more resources on recovery, really challenging myself and really trying to find joy again, I started questioning if being a dietitian was really what I wanted to do. And that was scary because my eating disorder, while I was in it, I would say for about 5 years, there were 2 years of my life in grade 9 and grade 10 that I was completely consumed by it. And for those 2 years, that's all I knew. All I knew was food and control and macronutrient amounts and numbers and all these things. And then now I was asking myself to strip away those numbers and all this information that was in my head that I thought made me happy and brought me joy, when I realized it was just feeding my addiction, because an eating disorder is an addiction in a sense. So it was feeding my addiction. It was making me unhealthy, even though what the original intention was to make me healthier. So I had to ask myself, is this in the long run going to help you? Because you want to recover from this eating disorder. You want to reverse all of these health complications you now have. You want to be happy. Years down the road, you want to have a good life and you want to say, I made the right decision. In that moment, I realized I didn't want to be a dietitian, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I was going through this space in grade 11 and grade 12, trying to figure out what the heck was I passionate about? What did I love? What did I want to go into school for? And it felt like I had lost myself, because as the eating disorder started disappearing, there was this empty space within me where nothing had filled that space yet, because like I said, my eating disorder was consuming all of my thoughts, and as it slowly started to die, I had nothing to fill that. And it was scary because, you're expected to make this life-changing decision when you're 18 by deciding what school you want to go to, or if you want to go to school or not. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. It took a lot of reflecting and a lot of asking myself, Jenna, what makes you happy? What do you enjoy doing? I didn't have that answer immediately, so I had to take a very mindful approach to every day. I would do activities and I would say, is this something that I could make a career out of? Is this something that I really enjoy? I would start doing hobbies that I hadn't really done before. I would do a lot of research on things that I enjoy doing, like reading and writing and research, and I would see what kind of careers are out there. And then the environment came up. And the environment and sustainability was my saving grace in a sense, because that is what helped me truly recover. In grade 11, I joined the environmental club at my high school, and that was my first time that I really had this passion for the environment. I've always been a lover of nature. I have been passionate about the environment, but I never saw it as a career. But when I was in grade 11 and I started taking grade 11 biology, because previously in grade 9 and grade 10, science was all clumped together, but grade 11 was the first time that biology and chemistry and all that were separate. So I started taking biology and chemistry, and I loved them, and I loved the science behind it, and I really loved learning about plants and animals. I remember that in biology. So then I asked myself, what kind of careers are out there for that? And so I started thinking, maybe a biologist or an environmental scientist or something. And then by grade 12, I became the president of the environmental club, and I was running all these campaigns at my school to educate people about sustainability. And we did some really fun presentations in front of the school about littering and all this other stuff where we are educating our fellow students and empowering them to make simple changes in their life that could lead to a massive change within the school to promote sustainability. And I loved doing this. I loved having that leadership role. I loved having the creativity to make a change. And I loved knowing that my actions, my individual actions, were making a change. That was when I realized the environment is where I need to be working. This is how I'm going to make a change. It's not going to be dietetics. And as scary as that was, as I started going more and more into the environment, studying it more, becoming passionate about it, I then started the blog and I started writing about sustainability. And as I got into university, it became a larger thing. And now Clear the Air is what it is today. Promoting sustainability and educating youth not only became a hobby for me, that anytime I had free time, it's what I was doing. It not only was that, but it helped me recover from my eating disorder, because when my thoughts would start slipping into that dark place again about restriction and control, I could focus my energy on something else completely separate from food. It was such a relief, because after years of just being in this depressing, dark mindset that constantly pushed me down, I now had something positive I could focus on. I could channel that energy and time into making a positive change. You know, it took years, and even through university, when there were more stressful moments, that's when I found my eating disorder would emerge more. It never had fully gone away, even when I was in university, and especially in first year, I did struggle quite a bit in the beginning because it was my first time away from home, you know, living in a residence, all these other things. Stressful times are when my eating disorder emerges the most. Focusing my energy on sustainability and the environment and the things that I am truly passionate about help me suppress my demons, essentially, and stay healthy and stay well and continuing to make a difference in the world. So what I'm trying to say is, whether it's an eating disorder you're struggling with, another mental illness, a physical disability, an addiction to a drug or alcohol or whatever it is, if it's consuming all your life and you want to make a change, the only thing stopping you is yourself. And to make that change, to truly find what you're passionate and happy about, you need to ask yourself, what deep down makes me happy? You need to strip away whatever your eating disorder, whatever your addiction is telling you. You need to ask yourself, if this didn't exist, who would I be? What brings me joy beyond this? And as scary and as challenging, as almost isolating as that can feel, in the long run, it will benefit you so much, because in 20 years from now, do you want to be looking back on the decisions you made when you were a teenager or when you were in university and realize that those decisions were made by something that was controlling you? Or do you want to know that the decisions you made were made by you, truly by you, and what makes you happy? In 20 years, I don't want to be struggling from an eating disorder. I don't want to be in that constant fear and anxiety and be dealing with all the physical and mental health complications that came along with an eating disorder. I want to be happy. I want to be enjoying my life. I want to wake up every day excited about the work I'm doing. And I want the work I'm doing not only to promote a positive, sustainable world for everyone around me, but I want it to create a positive headspace for myself. And being a dietitian would not have done that because of the space I have been in. For some people, that is how they see to change the world, but for me, it's not what I felt was right. Beyond addictions and disorders and all those things, you also have to look at external factors that influence the decisions you make, like family, peers, your community. Those are really big pressures on you to make a decision. I remember in high school talking to friends who wanted to be an artist or a personal trainer, but their families wanted them to be doctors and engineers, and they did not want to do that. But they went into those programs. They went into the engineering and the science and math-based programs because their family pressured them into doing it. And I understand, especially if the financial support to go into school is coming from your family, but you know that you, at the end of the day, do have the power, and it is your life, and you need to be doing what makes you happy. And again, I understand if you can't study a certain program because you won't be financially supported to do so. But when you're in the program, maybe then you can try to find ways that do promote what you love to do. Or don't lose what makes you happy. If you love art, but you're in an engineering program, try to incorporate art into your degree. Maybe take some electives if you have that, or just start painting, start drawing, doing something so that you don't forget your passion. And think about the ways that you can integrate your passions into your degree. You just don't want to lose yourself in the process of pleasing others, of pleasing your disorder or your addictions, or whatever other factors are influencing you. So, at the end of the day, you need to remember that the decisions you make should be what makes you happy. You don't want to be hurting others in the process, but you do want to make yourself happy, and you want to be able to wake up every day loving what you're doing, excited for the day, excited to change lives, to help others, and to help change the world. Finding my passion for the environment and educating others and empowering youth to take climate action was a saving grace for me. It helped me recover from my eating disorder, and every day I am excited to wake up and start inspiring and educating people and learning more about the environment and making a difference in the world. Ask yourself today, what makes you happy? If you don't know that yet, start exploring that. Every day, look at the tasks you're doing and see, do I enjoy this? Why or why not? Why am I doing it? Am I doing it because I want to be doing it, or because someone or something else wants me to be doing it? And then from that, start making changes in your life in any way possible, in any little way, to find joy and to be happy and to be a positive change in the world. That's all I have to say for today. It's a shorter episode. I'm proud of myself for getting this down from like the 40 minutes it was originally at. I hope you find this inspirational or enlightening in a way. I hope you begin to reflect on your life and asking yourself these important questions that I have told you to ask yourself. Because again, at the end of the day, your happiness and loving yourself and loving what you're doing and making a change in the world is what we all are here for. We are all put on this earth to make a difference in some way, shape, or form. So it's up to you to find out what that difference is. Please remember to rate and review. If you liked the direction this podcast episode took, please let me know, and I am happy to write more about self-reflection and mental health and all these aspects. Also, don't forget to subscribe so that you always know when a new episode comes out, and check out the blog and see what other resources I have for mental health and personal well-being. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Until next time.